artificial intelligence, which has frankly disrupted the future of professional development, and given the speed at which technology is advancing, we can suddenly feel very overwhelmed. But there is an advantage that we will always have over it, and that we can also improve if we have the right guidance, and that is human mastery of power skills. That is precisely the name of the new book by Borja Castelar, former director of LinkedIn, speaker, author, among many other things, and he is here with us to talk precisely about this very interesting concept that scares many of us. Welcome, Borja Cantor. Thank you very much for the invitation. I love being here with you. Hey, tell me, please. There are many international organizations that have been warning people, and that obviously this sets off alarms, like the World Economic Forum, the OECD, which suddenly say there are going to be many jobs that are going to be displaced by artificial intelligence. And so, what happens? While everyone is focusing their discussion on the world of technology, you choose another path and focus instead on the human factor. What do you see as a possibility for the future? This future that looks so tech-forward.
And I consider myself a techno-optimist and quite optimistic, and I think we are terrible at predicting what is going to happen. In fact, there was an Oxford study done in 2013 that predicted that by 2023, 100,000 jobs would be lost, and none of that has happened. Quite the opposite. In many countries, employment is at full capacity, and the more technologically advanced the country is, the less employment there is and the less unemployment there is. So, it's actually quite the opposite. It's very difficult to predict the future, but what is clear is that I see a much more human future, where the most repetitive part will be removed, where you can add less value as a person and be able to focus on the human part, that is, human skills, power skills, as I call them in the book, right? Because that's the key. Because those are the skills that will not be replaced: human connection, influencing, connecting, persuading, communicating. That's where we have to focus in this new era.
Now, as the former director of LinkedIn, which is no small thing, you have a very clear mapping in terms of jobs and employers, of what characteristics they are really looking for right now, and across the board, that is, regardless of the job we are talking about, what are the main skills they are looking for when hiring?
Well, look, we are in the middle of a paradigm shift. What does this mean? That in the past, companies hired a lot for technical skills. I'm going to hire that engineer, that programmer, that very technical, very good person, and I'm hiring them because of their track record and because of the degree that I talk about a lot, right? Also, but then they're a toxic person who doesn't know how to collaborate, doesn't have critical thinking, doesn't know how to communicate, and in general they're a toxic person, and they were in the old paradigm in a vicious circle. I hire for technical skills, and I've done it for human skills, for power skills. Of course, what's happening now? There's a change. Now what companies are doing is hiring more and more for human skills. I'm going to hire someone who knows how to communicate, someone who has the attitude. We have to go back to the human, and go back to what existed before the Industrial Revolution.
It's as if there's a cognitive dissonance, right? As if on the one hand companies are understanding it. At least we see Google, Microsoft, Deloitte, for example, doing these hiring processes that take human skills into account, but education is catching us up. And I think that your book is precisely an effort to push consciences towards a more human side. Now, I want to ask you about this. In the future, many talk about possible dehumanization as a latent risk if we focus too much on technology and not enough on the human side. What are the risks, as an analyst and also someone who knows the environment of employees and jobs? What do you see for the future? Well, look, I see that Latin cultures have a great advantage here. I think, because we have a much stronger part of human connection than other cultures. I believe there is a movement towards analog, towards the human, towards embracing each other, towards looking at each other, and I see a future where empathy, true collaboration, and social issues will be valued more than ever. I believe that there will be more social entrepreneurs than ever in history. In other words, I think that the human side is going to be the new revolution, and that side will be valued more than ever. And I think AI is going to help us ironically because, as I said, it's going to remove the less human part where we can add less value.
We're talking about at least one of the skills that if we crossed artificial intelligence with the more human part, for example, giving it a good prompt, that would become part of our feeling of being literate now in this new era, right? Sure, I always say that. The new illiterates are going to be the people who don't know how to use GPT chat or any other generative artificial intelligence. We have to know how to converse, we have to make good prompts, and we have to play with it a lot because the more you play, the more you'll be up to date and the more you'll know how to use it.
So we want to go back to where we can learn more details about all this that you're telling us about, and that I think many more people will find interesting because of what's coming in the future. Power skills, where can we find it? When will it be available? Etc., etc.
Well, this week it should start to be available in the typical Gandhi bookstores, in all physical bookstores, and online, on Amazon and all digital platforms. And as I say, in short, it's a guide. What I want is a book that is a quick, concise, and very direct guide to the point.
Well, wonderful. I think what you're doing with this work is at least teaching us that there's nothing to do with soft skills, but rather power skills. From there, we're starting to get a very good idea of what we should do in the face of the technological future that lies ahead. Thank you always, Borja Castelar. Borja Castelar, author of Power Skills.